1946. Finally, World War II is over. Not the version with the angry Austrian painter. We deleted that guy in the previous episode. Instead, we got a much weirder war, featuring Fascist France, led by a literature nerd named Charles Maurras, because apparently, books can be dangerous too. It didn't go well for Axis France, Italy, and Spain. France lost, and was immediately liberated by Britain and America. You know, freedom, with supervision. Italy and Mussolini? Forget it. In every timeline, this man speedruns to the same ending. Spain? Franco survived. Barely. After paying a ridiculous amount of money for attacking Portugal, he apologized, shut up, and went into political time-out. But the biggest event of the year was the Nuremberg trials. French Nuremberg trials. Same courtroom, same serious faces, much worse accents. And while the world pretended justice was served, something far more dangerous was just getting started. Welcome to 1947. The war ended, but not with a handshake. It ended with a stare down. France didn't just win, it got management restructuring, led by the British and Americans. And Europe? Europe looked like a pizza that had been sliced by a blind man with a machete. Germany wasn't really liberated. It got swallowed by the Soviet Union. The Iron Curtain didn't fall on Berlin. It fell right on the River Rhine. To the west, blue, capitalist, and addicted to jazz. To the east, red, cold, and addicted to, well, let's see what happened in the east first. The scary part was the Soviet Union, a massive war machine fully controlled by one man, Joseph Stalin. In this timeline, the Soviets didn't get wrecked, much less. And while everyone else was rebuilding, the USSR was leveling up. They completely had Poland, and then Germany in their hands. Stalin renamed Germany the German Democratic Republic, which, as we all know, is code for neither German nor democratic, and barely a republic. The Germans, who were used to efficiency and strict schedules, were now introduced to the Soviet way of life, which mostly involved standing in line for 3 hours to buy a single potato, and then being told the potato was actually a rock. Second, Stalin got extremely lucky. All of Germany's best scientists ended up in Soviet hands. No paperwork, no negotiations, just a simple career update. Congratulations, you now work for the USSR. But Stalin had a vision. He combined German engineering with Soviet manpower. The result? Tanks that could drive forever, provided the driver didn't freeze to death first. Berlin became the new Moscow. And the German soldiers? They traded their Heil salutes for the Kazotsky kick. It was terrible for their knees, but great for morale. But not everyone was happy with the new red paint job. Deep in the shadows, Erwin Rommel, the city fox, was watching. He had spent years fighting the French fascists as a partisan hero, but now? He looked at the Soviet flags over Berlin and said, "You know what? I think I prefer the other guy." Stalin knew Rommel was dangerous. He wanted him gone. But Rommel didn't get the nickname Fox for nothing. In a legendary escape that would make Hollywood stuntmen jealous, Rommel stole a Soviet motorcycle, jumped over a convoy of tanks, drifted across the frozen Rhine River, and landed right in front of an American patrol. The American soldiers raised their guns. Rommel raised his hands and said, "I know how to beat the Russians." The Americans lowered their guns and said, "You're hired. Here's a pack of gum and a tank division." Meanwhile, over in France, things were getting weird. The British and Americans had kicked out Charles Maurras. He was sent to a retirement home on a remote island, where he spent his days yelling at seagulls for not being French enough. France was free. Again. But this time, Paris wasn't just the city of lights. It was the city of Coca-Cola, neon signs, and American GIs trying to order French fries in a bistro and getting slapped by the waiters. The economy boomed, but national pride? That took a hit. General de Gaulle wasn't too happy about taking orders from London and Washington. He spent most of the late 40s in his room, sulking, refusing to come out until America admitted that French cheese was superior to cheddar. By 1948, the border between France and Germany became the most dangerous place on earth. The Rhine Wall. On the east bank, millions of communist German, Polish and Soviet soldiers, all sharing the same red flag and the same bad mood. On the west bank, a mix of Allied troops, commanded by Erwin Rommel, a man who very much wanted his country back. It was a staring contest with nukes. Every day the tension grew. A French soldier would sneeze, and the entire Soviet army would load their cannons. A German soldier would drop his rifle, and the American Air Force would scramble the jets. It was like two guys holding flamethrowers in a room full of dynamite, arguing over who touched the thermostat. But wait, we forgot someone. Down in the south, Francisco Franco was still sitting in Spain, the last surviving member of the Fascist alliance. Spain was broke, isolated, and its army was mostly equipped with leftover equipment and hopeful thoughts. Stalin looked at the map. He saw a juicy, defenseless target. He thought, why stop at Germany? Let's paint the whole continent red. He ordered the Soviet Navy to move toward the Mediterranean. Operation Red Matador. Panic in London and Washington. They hated Franco. Franco was the bad guy. But if Franco fell, Stalin would control all of Europe. So they made a disgusting choice. Hello? Franco? Yeah, it's us. Look, we still hate you, but do you want some money and guns? Franco, who was currently trying to sell the royal palace to pay the electricity bill, said, Sí, por favor. 1950. The world is a powder keg, and in the middle of all this, the Soviet Union tested its first atomic bomb. They didn't just test a bomb. They tested a bomb that made America's Manhattan Project look like a kindergarten science experiment. Now, both sides had the power to turn the planet into a radioactive parking lot. Stalin gave a speech in Berlin. The revolution does not stop at the river. It flows like vodka. Truman responded from Paris, one step across that water, and we turned the lights out in Moscow. It was a cold morning in November. A dense fog covered the Rhine River. Radar operators picked up a massive signal. Rommel looked through his binoculars. He saw the silhouette of a massive tank, and sitting on top of it was the bear. The order was given. Load all weapons. Unlock the nuclear silos. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8, and then, did the bear press the button? Did Rommel fire the first shot? Or did everyone just realize it was too cold to fight and go home for hot chocolate? To see if the world survives past 1950, you'll have to wait for part 3. Make sure to subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment telling me which dictator had the better moustache. See you next time.